Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. We got the first Titans balance patch. That was a really early balance patch. It nerfed Solid Alibi and it nerfed Lab Constructor. So that was largely a fields-based patch, I would say. Solid Alibi and Lab Constructor. Neither was a top performing card in the respective lists. And what have been the effects of that patch? Well, Nature Shaman got a little bit stronger, because mages have now been dropping Solid Alibi, and Solid Alibi was the card that made mages beat Nature Shaman, and Mech Rogue is a little bit weaker, but still perfectly viable. So overall, not that many differences in the meta. Obviously, that was just nerfing a couple of really bad play experiences. But what about the next balance patch? I have now been looking deep into data, trying to figure out, okay, what would be the changes that the game would actually need in order to be more balanced, in order to be better in that sense, and how could we get there? And in this video, I will present my own proposals for balance changes, predictions maybe not predictions. Blizzard doesn't tend to do many of the things that I suggest, but anyway, my proposals for what the game would need to become more balanced. First of all, Hound Hunter is the best deck in the game, and it's not particularly close. Hound Hunter is just really, really good. So how would you go about nerfing Hound Hunter if you wanted to bring it a little bit more in line with other decks? There are basically three alternative paths that you could take. You could try to nerf their win conditions, but you really can't now, can you? Because there are so many. It's just a pile of really strong cards, and then they just keep jamming good cards on the board and boom, until you crumble. Do you nerf all of the good cards? Yeah, that's kind of hard to touch. You could try to nerf the early pressure. Wild Seeds, for example, have already been nerfed sometimes, so yeah, you could do that, but does that even solve the issue completely? And then the third alternative would be to try to nerf their comeback mechanics, because Hound Hunter is a pretty slow deck. It actually needs comeback mechanics against many of the aggro decks, and that brings us to Hollow Hound. Hollow Hound obviously is a card that many people have said, hey, this should be nerfed already way back. And the data has really not required it to be nerfed. Data has not shown that anything would be out of the ordinary, anything would be too good with the card. But now, given Hound Hunter's current status, I am inclined to believe that a Hollow Hound nerf would actually be useful. Hollow Hound probably would be an attack nerf from 3 attack to 2 attack, so that then it fails to clear boards and it heals less, and that means that you can just keep attacking the Hunter. Obviously Hunter has ways to buff Hollow Hound, so they have ways to play around that, but I think that would still be a pretty sweet nerf for the current meta. And there are only really 2 nerfs that I can identify as Hound Hunter, and another one that I would want to see nerfed already now is Nature Shaman. Nature Shaman started out really poorly. I mean, it was like 42% win rate in the original versions, but now Nature Shaman has moved towards just becoming a very streamlined combo OTK deck. Once it stopped trying to do anything else and focused on, hey, I'm going to OTK people, I'm going to OTK them as fast as I can, and that's my purpose. Then Nature Shaman has started to become better and better. And at the heart of that OTK is bioluminescence. There are multiple ways to get minions for that, so nerfing some of the ways to get minions would be kind of awkward. But bioluminescence currently costs 3 mana, give you minion spell damage +1. If this were to cost 4 mana, for example, that would slow down the OTK a little bit, and that would open up more weaknesses for Nature Shaman. So I believe that would be a warranted nerf. So Hollow Hound, bioluminescence, only 2 cards that I would nerf. However, I would also want to see a lot of buffs, because there are many archetypes that were introduced in Titans that have not succeeded, and I would love to see Blizzard give them a little bit of help. First of all, we have Plague Death Knight. Plague Death Knight is actually quite popular, even though it's not very good. But what would be really interesting would be if Plague Death Knight, if more options were open for Plague Death Knight. I'm talking about Staff of the Primus and the Distressed Qualdir, which both currently require 2 Unholy Runes. What if they only required 1 Unholy Rune? Then you could build Plague Death Knights. Instead of 2 Unholy, 1 Frost, you could also have 2 Frost, 1 Unholy, or you could have Frost, Unholy Blood. You could have a Rainbow Death Knight that was also Plague Death Knight. So Plague Death Knight is kind of already playable, but if you were to lax the rune restrictions a little bit, then that would allow for more variety with Plague Death Knights, and I guess that would be very interesting to see. Then there is Demon Hunter with this aggro draw package, and I have been playing around with this package a lot. tens of games playing around with this package, and the more I cut from the new cards, the better the deck becomes. Actually, the current version that I'm running only runs Momentum. It has ditched the Argonaut Golem, the Weight of the World, the Hereditary Receptor. All of those just seem really, really bad. So what can you do to help this kind of aggro draw-based Demon Hunter deck? If you really want to help it, these three could be all potential candidates for buffs. For Argonaut Golem, I have found that, well, you play Argonaut Golem and then it dies. If it doesn't die to a spell, then at least it's removed by minions, because it will always have only one attack on the opponent's turn, so they can basically remove it for free. However, if the Argonaut Golem were to keep the attack for the opponent's turn, so it always has at least 2 attack on your turn, because you're always drawing 1 card at the start of the turn, so this would be a 3 mana 2/5 if you just play it down on 3, and sometimes you would have drawn more cards and you play Argonaut Golems and they could have a lot of attack. So removing them with minions would be a little bit more costly, and I think that would be an interesting mechanic. So yeah, you still need to buff it separately each turn, but it will keep the attack for the opponent's turn, so that trading it away actually costs them something. I think that would be interesting. And then Weight of the World, 3 mana, draw 2 cards. Alright, it's an Arcane Intellect. Then if you forge it, draw cards until you have as many in hand as your opponent first. But it's only basically good if it's a little bit later in the game and you have no cards in hand, and other than that it's total waste of space. But what if Weight of the World was 1 mana, draw 1 card, and then the same forge effect? So then you would be able to do the forge effect much cheaper, you would be able to draw your hand full much cheaper, you would be able to actually play other stuff in addition. I think that would open up some interesting opportunities for Weight of the World. And then there's Hereditary Receptor, another super disappointing card. Whenever you draw a card, summon a 1/1 demon with Rush, and when you summon those 1/1 demons with Rush, because you are playing Demon Hunter, you can't really do much about them. I guess if you had Halveria in the deck, then you could have some things going, but without Halveria, then you just don't have anything going on with the Deceptor. If the Deceptor was a little cheaper, let's say Deceptor was a 3 mana 3/4, then it could come down a little bit earlier and those 1/1 minions could actually affect the game a little bit more. So I would really like to see a lot of changes for the aggro draw package of Demon Hunter, because most of the package is just way too weak to see play. Although this package is even worse, Paladin's Earthen package. The Earthen cards are completely unplayable. The Earthen decks are like 30% win rate decks or something, and I'm not even sure how to fix all of this. Would you just cut some mana cost out of these? Disciple at 5, Stoneheart King at 3? Would you give Earthen Taunt? Are Earthen too strong if they have Taunt? Is just that going to lock all the aggressive decks out of the game? I don't know. Earthen are a big problem trying to fix, because Earthen obviously, because they're a scalable threat, they can also become too strong quite easily. There's also the possibility that this could be solved with the mini set. Maybe the Earthen package is not complete yet, because it feels really incomplete. It feels like there's cards missing from this package. So it's also possible that this package has been designed together with the mini set, and without the mini set it just doesn't work. So maybe this might be something that we don't see in the balance patch, if there's a plan for Blizzard to fix this in the mini set. And finally there is Warrior. Enrage Warrior remains a playable deck, but Control Warrior remains an unplayable deck. Control Warrior, ironically, Control Warrior's biggest problem is lack of control. They now have a wonderful win condition with Odin. They can play Odin and then they can armor up and just get tons and tons of attack. But they can't survive because they can't control the board, so they don't get to a position where they can drop the Odin without dying, and that's it. Short of getting some brand new board clear cards, maybe a band-aid could be applied by improving some of the cards, because Warrior got cards that are somewhat playable. It's just that they're not good enough. So what about if Kaskarot? Kaskarot I think might even be the weakest Titan at the moment. What if Kaskarot, you were able to choose the minion Kaskarot attacks? You could target Kaskarot's attacks and pick up quality targets. Still not going phase, but you could pick what it kills. That would be a major improvement. Trial by Fire, what if it cost only 6 mana instead of 7? Coming down a little bit earlier, then it can also present a bit of a board threat, just adding to the power of that card. And Craftsman's Hammer. After a hero attacks and kills a minion, gain 4 armor. What if Craftsman's Hammer gave you armor after your hero attacks? Not when it kills a minion, but after it attacks. This would not make it too good with Odin, because you would get the armor after the attack, so your attack would increase it. You have already hit, okay, that's done. But there would be some interesting gameplay implications where you hit into something, you don't kill it, but you gain armor after that, which in turn enables cards like Shield Slam, for example. So I would really love to see that kind of gameplay. It would be quite scary even in an aggressive deck, I guess, because they just hit you in the face and gain armor, so they get out of your reach. That's just wonderful opportunities that could be opened up. And I think if Warrior got some of these buffs, then Warrior would be a little bit more playable. Although it's also possible that Warrior problems are something that it would actually take a mini set to fix. So to recap, I think the game currently needs 2 nerfs, Hound to 2 attack, and Bioluminescence to 4 mana. And then several of the new Titans archetypes could do with some buffs, like Plague Death Knight dropping some rune requirements, allowing Death Knight to experiment more. Demon Hunter's aggro draw package, making some of these unplayable cards actually playable. Paladin's Earthen package, although this might be better fixed in the miniset. And Control Warrior, although Control Warrior also maybe the miniset is the answer, but I think Control Warrior would have some things that we could do about it already right now. So that's what I hope will happen. The first mini balance patch came really early. I fully expect there to be more balance patches coming with more focus on actual data, with more focus on actual balance instead of just how it feels to play those games. And these would be the archetypes that I would target if I was making the decisions. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.